Does anyone else, when you're printing something big, feel like putting a secret message down inside of one of those compartments, and then maybe in the year 3000, someone cracks it open and finds, because this will certainly make it to the year 3000, finds it, and it's, you know, like a dick butt or something like that. What is up, guys? Technicals Tinkers here, back at it, checking in on the 3D print operations for today. Small business owner with a business that has nothing to do with 3D printing, but I'm interested in expanding, so I'm trying to prove the concept here at home. So be sure to subscribe to the channel if you want to follow along in this process. So what am I working on today? Well, D20 Cube. If you've been following that saga, I'm printing it all in one big go, and it's slow. So this is like a three and a half day print, I think, and we're holding fast. We're you know, knocking on wood here that it's not going to fail, but we're over halfway on this D20, going super duper slow, and we're using that Sunlu 3 kilogram roll, and it's working out great. The surface finish looks fantastic. Just running it slow, doing the same thing over here because I'm not really been selling that much. Cryptocurrency is not great right now, and that's really the main thing that I kind of actually have sales for. And because it's not doing that great, no one's buying the shrouds or the little whipsy doodles for it. So I have the ability, the opportunity to use the printers in slow mode to print some of the bigger stuff. So I've got a bottom of another coffee cup coming here, because the first one I printed, the concept didn't turn out, it left a lot to be desired. So I'm doing this one with more wall loops, a little heavier duty, and we're gonna see how that comes out. Over here on the A1, a lot of fun stuff, as you can see here. But right now we're doing something utilitarian. If you see my other videos, you know that my favorite thing to 3D print is stuff for around the house. Now you might have noticed I have half of my office done in slat wall. This is like commercial slat wall. So it's, you know, these lines, they have a functional purpose. You might see these in like retail stores because, you know, people hang stuff on them like clothes or whatever. So I just download slat wall brackets and then just delete whatever's on the face and put like just simple primitives on there to, you know, hold the things that I need to hold. So a box of gloves, my broom, this is where I put my keys, or my hat that I never wear, or my uniform for YouTube videos. So I'm printing up a whole batch of these clothes hangers here because this one's a little chintzy on the infill, and now that it's cold, I'm like, I need a place to hang my jacket. I need more of these. So I'm printing up a whole fresh batch of them so I can have my, you know, because my costumes for my other channel and my Technicals uniform and so on and so forth. Technicals, tell me about this. What is this? Well, I'll tell you. Let's go and take a look. So working on a lot of new concepts here, and again, if you've been following the channel, it's because I'm trying to expand into this 3D print thing. I'm not exactly sure what my niche is. A lot of people say, like, you know, just design things for the hobbies that you have, and I've remarked on this in previous videos, you know, the stuff that you know, but I don't really have any hobbies, and there's nothing I really like doing. Like, I don't play golf or go fishing, or, you know, I'm not into cosplay or anything like that. And if I am into something, it's usually for like 3 months until the ADD kicks in and I'm off to something else. So, you know, sticking to one niche that I know, it's not really in the cards for me, I don't think. And I'm always keeping my eyes open for anything. And I appreciate all the suggestions that people come through with in the comments. So if you think there's something that's not being served and you want to throw me a bone, please remark in the comments below. Really, it's just me kind of, you know, coming up with stuff and brainstorming and thinking, like, you know, what's something that a lot of people like. And so that's where I have these giant art piece pew-pews that I made, and, you know, they're big. You know, that's, you've probably seen them in previous videos or on my Etsy store. They're super duper giant. Now, I'm not really a gun guy. Of course, I have them, I use them, I respect them, but I'm not like an avid sort of hobbyist in that aspect. I'm not consuming that kind of content, you know, and I'm not crazy about it and just love them and love shooting. I mean, they're a tool as far as I'm concerned, you know, a tool for protection or whatever you want to use them for. But I realize that a lot of people are into them in that way. So I've made those big pew-pews as art pieces, obviously, and while I have not sold one, probably because I list them at $600, 7 people have them in their cart, the Glock specifically, on the Etsy store. So I don't know what would prompt someone to do that, or if someone's gonna actually pull the trigger and buy it, but it's telling to me that, you know, there's enough interest on it. It is by far the most viewed product on my Etsy store, and I've not advertised it in any way, shape, or form other than this channel, but that's not really advertising, is it? So I'm leaning into that a little bit more, and I thought of just going down the list of, you know, what are the most popular pew-pews or most iconic. And so the next one, I reached out to my designer, and my designer is a guy on Fiverr, you know, of getting a Colt Python, because I don't have a revolver really. Now he sends me a full model, so I kind of have to break it up, and I kind of like it that way anyway, because with my printers, I'm trying to scale it based on like what's the biggest part of the model, of the art model. And again, this is an art model, okay? Before anyone like runs in there, it's plastic, okay? It's not real. But the biggest part's going to be this center section. So I kind of go through and break up the model just kind of in places where I think it would make sense. Now this one is going to have grips on the side, which I'll do in a different color. So there will be some painting unless I get like a nice brown color. I can print the grips in that brown and just glue them on there and then leave the rest of the body as a silver or a gray or maybe even a black. And then I had to go through and kind of carefully sort of cut this out, the drum, and then that way it kind of just slides in like a real model would. And I'll have to like come up with a creative way of fixing it in there. My thinking is though of just kind of making a primitive cylinder, a plug, and just sending it down in there, and that would go through the barrel into the drum and just kind of lock it in place, and then I could glue it from there. And so it's really, that's kind of took up a good portion of yesterday, me kind of slicing this thing up into parts that I can then glue together and print big. Considering this part is, I don't know, 80 or something like that on this face because it would print here, I could probably, scale it up to this point, which would make the piece kind of relative to the Glocks in the 1911 that I already have. So been working on that. I think that'd be striking. And, as I'm designing this, I'm trying to keep it in my mind of like, make it simple, make it easy to print, make it easy to glue together. Don't get overly complex. Don't commit yourself to having to do a lot of post-production, because I say in every video, I'm not about post-production. I want to take things off the printer and ship them. I don't want to paint or do anything like that because I'm not an artist, but things like this, people are interested in it, and if it's an art piece, then people expect some degree of that, but maybe I'm making up for it in just the raw size. So that's one thing. The other thing, I showed this the other day, the text, the sort of 3D text I was working on. I was kind of trying to, I'm not really a fan of this sort of offset text. I was hopeful for something that was like sunken in. So what I did was made a sort of an outline text. So I took a letter, R. Today's letter is R. And anyway, so I took that and then I took a solid version and I kind of, creatively crafted it to where the tolerances on this aren't very fine. I do have to adjust it by like, I don't know, 1/4 millimeter around the sides just so it will slide in easily. But the idea being is that the letter sinks inside and you could do the outer in like a white and then the inner as like another color, whatever color that you think. And then that way when you put it together, just use your imaginations here. We're on Sesame Street anyway. It kind of gives like sort of this sunken in 3D sort of vibe from within rather than just stacked text on top. That's the idea anyway. Again, it's just me trying to find a niche, experiment around, sort of see what works and what sort of the path to least resistance is. Once again, thanks to all the people that are coming in and subscribing and all the suggestions, all the people who are coming in and telling me what I'm doing wrong with supports. A lot of conflicting information, just to be absolutely, honest about it, because some people saying this and the other people saying the exact opposite. A lot of people pointing me to Uncle Jesse's video regarding supports, and that was just kind of locking in and confirming what I was kind of suspecting without seeing it first, but what a lot of other people had suggested, like, it's filament based. And some people saying that filament should have nothing to do with it, but in my experience thus far, running, say, this Rapid PLA Plus versus regular PLA versus matte PLA, absolutely there is a difference. So I'm sure maybe you could sort of get closer to a homeostasis using temperature and speed settings. But for my purposes, I just kind of like to know what the deal is, because part of that scalability that I talk about and expanding into business is making things as simple as possible. So like, for instance, someone else saying, with my Cobra 2 Maxes, they're shitty printers, and I understand that. Why would you get them then? Well, they have a 400 millimeter build plate. So I have to have a super large build plate, the biggest one I can get within reason, to print some of those large art models. And because if I had a 250 millimeter build plate, I'd have to print these large models in 800 different parts, which would take more time to assemble, more post-production, more cost, less sales. Doesn't work for me like that. So I got to keep things simple. Part of keeping things simple is keeping things simple in my brain. So if I already know that matte filaments are for art and Rapid PLA, or maybe even just moving entirely to PETG or one of those more exotic materials is for my functional prints, then I'm much more inclined to do that, because if I'm printing stuff for crypto mining, like stands and stuff like that, maybe I just do it all in PETG for the added strength, or maybe go all carbon fiber or something like that for the added strength, and just kind of say like, well, I could get away with PLA on this part, but why would I? Well, just keep it simple. Just match the price accordingly to the material and keep it simple across the board. Because again, if you go to scale in the future, if you set up all these different things that only you know and you remember, it's going to be that much more difficult for you to communicate that to an employee, that much more difficult for you to standardize that and enshrine that and kind of put it in a handbook or a training guide. And so I'm constantly thinking in that way, like, if I had to train this to somebody else that has no idea about 3D printing whatsoever, would it be simple or is it overly complex, and can I simplify it? I understand a lot of people saying like, why don't you just hire someone that knows about 3D printing? Well, why don't I just hire someone that knows how to make $1 billion and then do that? Because it's just easier to hire people that have a blank slate and then train them on exactly what they have to do. And that's pretty much universal for most industries. So anyway, that's the 3D update for today and my riff. Let me know what you want to see in the comments below. Again, appreciate everybody stopping by and taking a ride with me on this journey. Let me know what you want to see. Be sure to press like and subscribe for more content like this. I'm The Technicals. See you next time.